Hello, everybody. It is Monday, the 21st of October. I want to talk again about this idea that we are trapped in this world. Yeah, that we are divine sparks that are somehow trapped in this world and that we need to get out. Right. I think we need to first of all see what it is we're actually trapped in. What is creating the walls that trap our energies? Because they do. To see why those walls were created and what their function actually is. And then to use ourselves correctly, to function correctly as an energy being. That is to use our energies, but in the correct way. So first of all, I think this whole idea of, our divine spark is somewhere out there. It's a wrong perception. Yeah, and that we are somehow disconnected from it. I think it's a wrong perception. There is a perception in Eastern teaching where the divine spark is actually at the core of the being, and I think that is a better picture. The better model by which to think. So if your divine spark is at the core of the being, and then there are several layers around the core, till you get to the outer being, which is then just a knowledge of the physical world, the knowledge of the five senses, which would be the outer layer. Yeah, and then, and if you are like existing in that layer, only gaining knowledge through that layer, you are trapped in the five senses. Why? How did this happen? How did we get here? Now, the Bible is actually extremely helpful in understanding what happened to us. Yeah? And that these layers that we have developed were actually developed out of a knowledge of ourselves. Something was brought to awareness that created the layers. And that is actually what happened in the Garden of Eden. Yeah? And here it is, when you say you should love God. What is love? Love is where you're open right to your core. If you are loving another being, and there's actually really important that we start to understand that those stories of the Bible are stories about outer worldly beings, that we are talking about a being to being relationship. Yeah, we're not talking about a relationship to the all or whatever, but we're talking about a being to being relationship. And then you already understand an awful lot, because again, you have the knowledge of experience of being to being relationships, and this one is no different. But you've been told to love God, or they loved God. That means they were open to the core. They were naked. Yeah, there were no other layers around the core. So they were connected with actually their spiritual spark being, the truth, their I am. They were connected to God. wide open, naked. And then when they ate, when they started reasoning, yeah, because they trusted, they did as they were told, they gave of all of their knowledge out of their core to God, to those beings. We're talking about beings. When they started reasoning about that, they became aware of something, and that was fear. Yeah, Paul says we were not being given the spirit of fear. Oh yes, we were. Absolutely we were. And that is becoming aware of danger. That things might not be as they seem. Yeah? That is what fear tells you. It's a knowledge of danger. And that caused them, Adam and Eve, to cover themselves up. They covered up their core. They no longer gave God access to the fullness of the core. Now the way that it is described from us is that we fell from a knowledge. Yeah? Actually, we gained a knowledge about ourselves. We gained a knowledge about how to cover up if there is danger. That is a defense mechanism. We developed defense mechanisms. Yeah? So we actually gained a knowledge of ourselves. God, those beings, lost the knowledge of us because we disconnected. We never gave them access to our core. And if we shut it off, that's for us. It is our core, it is our being, it is for us to say who we give the knowledge to. They covered up. And God lost the knowledge. Not us. Anyway, and I think over a period of time, we have developed more and more defense mechanisms. Because if you are open to your core, to your most inner sanctuary, to your divine spark, yeah, you give somebody access to that. That is where you can get hurt to the core. Getting hurt to the core. And that is where it can become soul destroying. Because that is access to your soul, to your divine spark. And no, you'd be an absolute fool to give anybody and everybody access to that. I also believe that it is in the heart-to-heart connection that miracles will happen. If people do connect on the highest level, on the level of soul, that is where manifestation, that is where creation happens. So yes, it can be extremely good. It can also be extremely bad. Which is again why we have the other layers of knowledge that surround our core, that are defense mechanisms, that are where we are testing what is coming in. Yeah? We can see it with our five senses. We can see what we're interacting with. We can hear the words spoken and we can apply reason. We have the emotional knowing, which is, yes, no. If you feel fear, that is giving you a knowledge. If you feel anger, that is giving you a knowledge about what it is you're interacting with, about their intentions, about whether they're good or bad for you. Yeah? And if your defense mechanism says there is danger, that their intentions are not quite what they say they are, you feel that, then no, you should not open a path to your core. Absolutely you should not. But I think at the moment, we have built those defenses because we did get hurt. As an individual, as humanity as a whole. There were a lot of traumatizing events in our own lives and in history that our defense mechanism has become so strong that, yes, I think we are trapped within our own defenses. That they have become a prison. And yes, we do need to get out. We absolutely need to get out if we are to go to a higher level of consciousness. We need to connect again on that level, on the level of the heart, on the level of our divine spark, on the level of soul. But as I said, at the moment, it has been taught to us like, oh, this is all evil, and you're being trapped in a prison. But we really need to keep a hold on why those layers are there, that they are defense mechanisms, and we should not forget that, or just tear them down, to let our light shine forth and connect to all. I mean, how many have done that in this world? Opened themselves, opened their heart to another, only to get hurt, badly hurt, because they weren't wise when they opened themselves up. They did not use the wisdom of all those layers that should have tested what you let in. But I mean, for many, I would say the outer layer, the fear, has actually become their being. It is so strong that nothing can get through anymore. That's not the point either. But to be aware of what it should do, and what to let in, and what to open yourself up to. Again, like the teaching in the Bible, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your being. Open yourself up, open the door, and let me in. Yeah? And the only justification that is given for that you should be doing that is, trust me, I'm God Almighty. Yeah, and sorry, not good enough. Definitely not good enough. Believe I'm God Almighty and trust me and open your heart. You know what? No. Sorry, no. So that trust, for instance, that trust has to be earned. And again, every state of a relationship, I'm sorry, you have to stay awake. Yeah? You have to hear the voices of your layers. You cannot go asleep. I mean, it's not a nice state to be in, but it is being realistic. You have to be realistic. You have to understand that not everybody is on the same level of consciousness. Yeah? And you have to understand that there are those out there that are out to deceive. Yeah? That have found a way to make you let down your defenses, because that's what you're doing. You're letting down your defenses. And they do that with the intention of hurting you or taking something from you. And that is being realistic. They exist. We know they exist. So you're being an absolute fool not to, be on your guard, to guard your divine spark, because that is the most precious thing that you've got. Yeah, evil exists. And even if you open yourself up to somebody, compassion, love and compassion, those are the doors that will bring down your defenses. See, they don't have to be evil. They don't have to have bad intentions to start with. They might just be ignorant. But it will hurt you all the same. Yeah, it will make no difference to the impact that it will have on your core when it hits you. So, no, we need to be wise. And as I said before, when Eve ate of the tree of knowledge of good and bad, she was asking for wisdom. And the knowledge she was given, the feeling of fear, was the first knowledge that would lead to wisdom. Cover yourself up. Do not be indiscriminately open to all. Now, but as I said, through being now trapped, I think we are trapped in our own defenses, not knowing anymore. We do no longer have that connection to one another. We need to build those connections. We need to be energetically connected. Yeah? That the energy needs to flow. That is what life is. You don't live by bread alone. It's not just the body. You live by the spirit. Yeah? And it is not that you can you might be able to create the energy within yourself, but that is very hard. But you're not supposed to be that. You're not supposed to be disconnected. You're supposed to be a part of a greater system. And yes, for that we need to open ourselves up and we need to connect on that level. We just need to learn how to do it correctly. And again, don't call what is disconnecting you evil. It's not. It is protecting your core. So you need to find a way to open those protections, to open those gates in a wise manner. And you need to be sure of what it is you're connecting to, that it has got the right intentions, and that it is actually connecting to you in love. Not just I am giving my love to all, but that they are actually going in also in love. And only then will the connection work something good, if both sides are on the same intention, on the same level of intention, on the same level of consciousness. Now, the last thing I was thinking about is, and I've just heard Gregg Braden again, how, if we were really, we always hold something back, which is true, we do. We hide behind our defenses. We're guarding our truth. How about we open up in love with one another? And that is coming from a man that is endlessly telling stories about how he got hurt. Doing exactly that. As I said, sometimes we come into this world over and over again, and why do we forget what we've learned? I think sometimes we just haven't learned it. It didn't sink in. It didn't become, the knowledge did not become part of our being. so we forget. But the thing is, do we have to open ourselves up completely, unconditionally? Unconditional love means unconditionally opening up and give the knowledge of yourself to somebody else, give somebody else completely unrestricted access to your core. That is what unconditional love is. And again, denying reality of what is around you. But do we have to do that? That is the question. Is it actually a question of all or nothing? That is a question that's been coming into my head over and over and over again. Is it all or nothing? You know, first of all, you need to actually understand what it is the question is talking about. What is all or nothing? All or nothing concerning what? Now I'm beginning again out of this understanding. I'm beginning to think that's what it is that is what it is asking me. Yeah? Do you have to open yourself completely? Or do you have to be shut completely? Is it all or nothing? And the answer is no. It is not all or nothing. And again, folks, don't throw out your Bible, just understand what it is talking about. Yeah? Because there's already an example in the Bible where it was not all or nothing, where a knowledge was shared. And again, because it created a reality in all of those that were involved. That means there must have been a core-to-core connection. But they have not opened themselves completely. But they only gave part of their knowledge, which means they must have only opened again, the core is probably made out of parts, out of compartments, everything is made out of pieces. Yeah? So if we learn how to open just one compartment of the core, to give that which will serve the other at the time, and guard the rest. Do guard the rest. So the story I'm talking about in the Bible is the miracle at Pentecost. Again, a miracle, a manifestation, manifested inside of them. The knowledge manifested inside of them. And then it started working something out of them because he worked out of that knowledge. And what happened at Pentecost was that they gave to each other the knowledge of their language. They shared that. So yes, they opened up. They gave of something that was inside of themselves. And that must have been a core-to-core connection for a manifestation to happen. It can only happen on that level. But they did not give all, but only something very specific. So, because as I said before, those that haven't heard it before, there were 120 in that room. They were all Jews or followers of Jesus at that point. They were not the same nationality. So they probably had knowledge of different languages. And they were given to each other something that would serve their intention. The intention was that they would go out into all of the nations to preach the gospel. In order to preach to somebody in a different country, you would need to speak their language. So they gave of that knowledge to each other because it would serve them in their intention. So when they came out and started talking, and somebody says, I am a Persian, why can I hear a uneducated fisherman suddenly talk to me? That is not because they were talking gobbledygook, they were speaking Persian, which is something they should not have been able to do. But there is where we will need to learn how to be spiritual beings energy beings in this world. What we're trapped in is most likely our own defenses, but it is not a case of just tear them down and open your core to all, because that is where you are at the most vulnerable. It's not only where you can give the most, but you yourself are at the most vulnerable. That's where you can get hurt to the core, to the level of soul. And wisdom is not to do that. And it is not a case of, oh, I completely disregard myself and I just give to all. That is then a sacrifice. I sacrifice myself. I will take all the hurt and, I will suffer all of that in order to give. Chances are that there are a lot out there that can't even receive what you are giving. They're not on a level to receive. So what you're doing is absolutely pointless. And you're getting hurt in the process. So yes, what is entrapping our energies are our own defenses, but then we need to use them. Not say they're evil, they're there to a purpose, and then use it wisely. Guard our core, because it is the most precious thing that we've got. And do not throw pearls before swine. Absolutely do not. It's just a different way of thinking about it. Not Satan, fear, all these things are evil. They're not. They're defense mechanisms. They're not evil. They're there for a purpose. They form what is wisdom. Should be wisdom. Anyway, here I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.